Lucas was 20 when his life fell apart for the second time. The first had been at 16, when his parents divorced amid screams and accusations that echoed through the house every night. The second was now, when Mariana, his girlfriend of 2 years, ended everything through a text message. "You're not the same as before, Lucas. It's like you've given up on yourself." The words still burned in his mind as he walked across the university campus, avoiding the curious glances of his classmates. In recent months, he had become a shadow of himself, skipping classes, abandoning the volleyball team, and spending most of his time locked in the apartment he shared with 2 roommates. His appearance reflected his inner state: disheveled hair, wrinkled clothes, deep dark circles under his eyes. He had lost weight in an unhealthy way, surviving basically on fast food and energy drinks. "Dude, you need help," said Bruno, his roommate, one random morning. "I can't watch you like this anymore." Lucas just mumbled a response and locked himself in his room again. It was during one of those solitary walks across campus that Lucas bumped into, literally, Professor Henry Cardoso. Books flew everywhere, and Lucas, without even looking up, mumbled a hurried apology. "Hey, slow down there," said the professor, his voice gentle but firm. "Are you okay?" Lucas finally raised his eyes. Professor Henry was known in the psychology department not only for his academic competence but for his genuine concern for students. He was about 45, with graying hair at his temples and eyes that seemed to see beyond the surface. I'm fine," Lucas lied, helping to collect the books. "You're Lucas Santos, aren't you? Second-year business administration." Lucas nodded, surprised to be recognized. "I've heard about you. You were one of the best students in your class, weren't you? And you played volleyball, too." The professor's voice faded as he noticed the expression of pain on the young man's face. "Sorry, I have to go," murmured Lucas, trying to walk away. "Lucas," the professor called. "If you ever want to talk, my door is always open. Room 204, Psychology Building." It took 3 weeks for Lucas to gather enough courage to knock on the door of room 204. When he finally did, his hands were shaking. "Come in," came the familiar voice from the other side. Professor Henry looked up from his papers and smiled when he saw Lucas standing in the doorway, clearly nervous. "I'm glad you came. Please, sit down." The room was welcoming, with plants on the yew, shelves, organized books, and a comfortable armchair where Lucas settled hesitantly. "I don't really know why I'm here," Lucas began, avoiding the professor's gaze. "Sometimes we don't need to know why to take the first step," Henry replied gently. "How about you tell me how you're feeling?" And then, like a dam breaking, everything came out. Lucas told him about his parents' divorce, about how he felt responsible for the separation, about Mariana and the humiliating breakup, about his feeling of being a complete failure. Professor Henry listened without interrupting, just nodding occasionally, his eyes conveying genuine understanding. "You know, Lucas," he said when the young man finished, "one of the most courageous things someone can do is admit they need help. And you just did that. What started as an isolated conversation turned into weekly meetings. Professor Henry wasn't a therapist. He made that clear from the beginning. But he was a mentor willing to listen and guide. The first thing we need to work on is your self-esteem," he said in one of the sessions. "You're defining yourself only by your failures, but you've completely forgotten your achievements." Henry proposed a simple exercise. Every day, Lucas should write down 3 things he was grateful for and 1 small personal victory, no matter how small. At first, it was difficult. "I managed to get out of bed before noon," was one of the first entries in the diary, but gradually the notes began to change. "I helped my elderly neighbor with her groceries. I did a decent job on the marketing assignment. I smiled at the cafeteria attendant. Now let's work on your habits," Henry said after a few weeks. "A sound mind in a sound body. Cliché, but true." Together, they created a basic routine. Wake up at the same time every day. Eat a nutritious breakfast, take a 30-minute walk every day. Small changes that, when added up, began to make a difference. Lucas also started going to the university gym. At first, he felt intimidated by the other students, but gradually he gained confidence. Physical activity helped not only his body, but his mind as well. Endorphins are natural antidepressants, Henry explained with a smile. And seeing your body get stronger helps you believe you can also get mentally stronger. It's time to talk. To your parents, Henry said on a rainy autumn afternoon. Lucas went pale. I can't. They'll blame me for everything again. Or maybe you'll discover you were carrying guilt that was never yours to carry. It took 2 more weeks of conversations for Lucas to gather courage. The call to his mother was tense at first, but gradually became one of the most honest conversations they'd had in years. Son, the divorce was never your fault, she said, her voice choked up. Your father and I, we were both lost, and we ended up hurting you in the process. I'm sorry. For that, the conversation with his father was more difficult but equally necessary. For the first time, Lucas was able to express how he felt, and his father, surprisingly, listened. I wasn't the father you deserved, the man admitted. But I want to try to be better now if you'll give me a chance. With more stable emotional support, Lucas began to rediscover things he truly enjoyed doing. He returned to playing volleyball, initially just in casual beach games. Man, where have you been all this time? Asked Felipe, an old teammate. We missed you. He also enrolled in a photography workshop offered by the university. He discovered he had a natural eye for capturing moments, and this became a new passion. See? Said Henry, looking at the photos Lucas had taken during the week. You have talent, you always did. You just needed to believe in yourself. Gradually, Lucas began to open up to new friendships. In the photography workshop, he met Anna, a journalism student with an infectious smile and passion for life that inspired everyone around her. You have an interesting perspective, she said, looking at one of his photos. Melancholic, but hopeful at the same time. They started going out to photograph together. Nothing romantic, just a genuine friendship that grew naturally. Anna had an incredible ability to make Lucas see beauty in small things. You've changed a lot, Bruno commented one night while they were watching a movie in the living room. You seem like yourself again, Lucas smiled. For the first time in a long while, he felt he truly knew who himself was. The real proof of his growth came when Mariana showed up at the apartment one night, wanting to talk. I heard you're doing well, she said, a strange tone in her voice. Maybe we could try again. The Lucas from 6 months ago would have begged for a second chance, but the Lucas of now looked her in the eyes and said, Mariana, I thank you for being part of my life, but we're not the same people anymore. I've changed, grown, and learned that I deserve someone who loves me for who I am, not for what I can become to please them. She was surprised by the mature and confident response. After she left, Lucas felt free. How do you feel? Henry asked in the next session. Complete, Lucas answered without hesitation. For the first time in a long time, I feel complete alone. Year after the first meeting with Professor Henry, Lucas was unrecognizable. Not just physically, he had gained healthy muscle mass, his posture was upright, his eyes sparkled, but mainly in his essence. His grades improved dramatically. He became the leader of a university extension project that taught photography to children in vulnerable situations. He returned to the university volleyball team and was dating Sophia, a colleague from the photography workshop, who admired him for his sensitivity and determination. Do you know what the moment was when I realized I had truly changed? He told Henry in one of their last regular sessions. Tell me. It was when one of the children in the project asked me how I always seemed so happy, and I realized that I really was happy. Not pretending, not forcing it, genuinely happy with myself. Henry smiled, his eyes moist with pride. That's the greatest achievement of all, Lucas. You learned to love yourself. 2 years later, Lucas graduated with honors in business administration and received a job offer from a marketing company that valued his creativity and leadership skills. But what made him most proud was the project he had created. a mentorship program for university students going through emotional difficulties. Professor Henry taught me that sometimes we just need someone who believes in us when we can't believe in ourselves, Lucas said during the project presentation to the university administration. In the audience, Henry smiled discreetly. His former student had become not just a fulfilled man, but someone willing to extend a hand to others who needed it. After the presentation, the two met in the hallway. "Thank you," said Lucas, extending his hand. Henry shook it firmly. "Don't thank me. You did all the hard work. I just reminded you of who you always were inside." Lucas smiled. "And now it's my turn to do that for others." As he walked across campus, Lucas reflected on his journey. There were moments when he thought he would never get out of the dark hole he had fallen into. But he had learned that the strength to be reborn had always been within him. He just needed someone to help him rediscover it. Now, he was that person for others. And that, more than any professional success or relationship, made him feel truly fulfilled. The young man who once thought himself a failure had become a man who knew his own worth. And that, Lucas discovered, was the greatest victory of all. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And sometimes that step is simply asking for help. Adapted proverb.